to the discourse. Ask for it by name. This is Unique Drops. It's your boy, Chris. And with me, I've got Jon. How's it going, Jon?
Great. Special PAX 2019 West Edition. We in the building. No, we're not in the building anymore.
End of day 3 of PAX. Jon's been here since Friday, and he's going to go through Monday. I got Saturday and Sunday away, so this is going to be the end of my shift.
Yeah, the dark deal has been made, and now you must go back to become a family man.
That is the case. Little guy starts school on Tuesday, so we're going to hang out tomorrow, make sure he's got all his ducks in a row. Jon, before we get into our list of games that we want to talk about, yes. What is your impressions of PAX this year, 2019?
It's weird because there's more here, but it's spread out more, it seems like. So there's been weird patches of the halls that you're used to seeing a lot of people in that aren't filled with people anymore. Like, they have basically excised their little second and third floor areas where you would have some tabletop stuff in there. You would have the weird handheld areas where people would flop down on the sumo bags. They still have some of those on one of the floors, but it's not nearly what they used to do.
No, Nintendo used to fill up one of those levels.
Yeah, and have, a couple mini booth type places. But, I mean, since they're big on the Switch, they have their big booth, which was taking pre-signups for the Warp Pipe thing that I looked at 45 minutes after it went live, and they had no appointments for any days left.
There you are.
So, yeah, a lot of places, there were several big ones that were taking, signups, actually scheduling time for people.
Right.
So, I guess a lot of that was management-wise, managing the number of people that are going to be on that show floor.
Yeah. And so we're not going to talk a whole lot of Nintendo.
No, we looked at the Nintendo booth. We saw the beautiful Link's Awakening dioramas.
We did. And we're not going to talk a lot of Microsoft because
there was no booth.
There was no booth.
There was a mixer booth. So.
Yes. We could watch other people stream. And that was it.
Meet your favorite mixer streamers. I don't think Ninja was there.
No. PlayStation had a large presence.
Didn't even we walked through that booth.
We did. And I don't know that I saw anything. They had, so one of the things I saw, giant Death Stranding, floor to ceiling, and we're talking, 30-foot ceiling, posters of all the different characters, but no Death Stranding on the floor, which I'm not saying they should or shouldn't, but that was one of the huge draws visually to their area, and
they had 4 kiosks with FIFA 20 in it. That should give you an idea of where we're at in the PlayStation /Microsoft life cycle of these consoles.
And that's what we talked about yesterday. I think that we're in an odd place where there's no huge titles coming next year or this holiday season even necessarily. And
it's weird. It's a weird release cadence now. We're getting some bangers that are becoming. Next year the early part of next year is stacked, which is weird because you would think some of the things that are coming there they would at least be showcasing in some way here.
Yeah, and we talked about Death Stranding as one of those big ones that just isn't.
That's coming out in 3 months,
right?
2.5 months.
Cyberpunk isn't here anywhere.
It's weird that Microsoft didn't even have a booth. I mean, they've got Gears 5, which is coming out in a week or two,
right? And
there's plenty of games and big companies on the floor that were showing stuff that's already released, which is weird, of course, but. Nintendo is the only thing that had a lot of stuff that was not released, I could think of.
Right.
Out of the major publishers.
And even those are pretty soon.
Yeah, Link's Awakening comes out in the middle, near the end of this month. Luigi's Mansion 3, which I think is that. I can't remember if that's scheduled for this year or not. And then Pokemon Sword and Shield, which is November, if I'm not mistaken. But tons of people waiting in lines for that. But, looking at the PlayStation stuff, there was... what were they demoing? That I can't even think of. They had a bunch of VR stations demoing Iron Man. They had one Spelunky 2 kiosk. That's weird. 4 FIFA 20 kiosks, but only one for Spelunky 2. for this kind of audience, like
right.
this like PAX audience.
That's what I was going to say. Sales wise, they probably got that right, but for PAX, I think they're a little bit light on probably what people were looking for.
Man, like it always stuns me every year to see how many people line up for that. Like the stuff that's not applicable to me,
or even stuff that's out. There was a Destiny booth, and I don't know what people were playing. If I'm being perfectly honest,
maybe they were playing the stuff that comes out in a few weeks, like the Shadowkeep stuff,
right?
Because I think that's. I mean, this is just me absorbing everything that comes from Destiny,
right? Because we did not wait in line for Destiny.
No. I mean, there were a few things that were like unknowns. Like they had the Disintegration booth, which is by one of the creators of Halo. Like there was a lot of known quantities on that floor. Is basically what it was. Is there was not a lot that was upcoming or hot. I mean, they had a Ubisoft booth had Ghost Recon Breakpoint, which I know what that game is. The only interesting one they had was that Roller Champions game. That looked like it might have been interesting to play, but I'm not going to sit in line for an hour to play that.
Yes. No, and so that that's really speaking to the AAA big names. On the other hand, we did play a ton of indie games.
Yeah, like that's where this show lives and dies now.
Yes,
in my heart. So
exactly, yeah. I think I've been going now for 4 years, and I've spent probably 80% of my time in the indie mega booth.
Yeah, the last decade or so has been indie stuff for me mostly.
Right. So we're just going to go down a list, kind of in time, based on the timeline. John played a whole bunch of games Friday, so we'll go through those first.
And then some I'll give you a little more. Some I'm just going to give you a quick boilerplate.
All right, let's get to it. Starting with If Found.
So that's a very emotional, seems like narrative kind of game. Very simplistic controls. Seems like something that'll come to mobile pretty quickly, if I had to guess, because all it involved was using the mouse to basically erase things on the screen, and it would basically be going into layers of narrative underneath. It has an interesting story about what looks like the main character going towards the center of, like, trying to find a specific planet, but then they somehow end up in a black hole, and they start going into their past. There's definitely some discussion of what seems like LGBTQ issues, because I believe at one point they have a scene between a mother and a daughter where the mother refers to the daughter as going through a phase. So it got real at some point. But it looks like the narrative focus is like your character erasing like their existence, it seems like. Because at one point you're opening up this journal and it says property of blah, 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 and you're basically using the mouse to erase all of that content that's in that journal. Got it.
Okay, well, that's If Found. Being published by Annapurna. Coming out in 2020.
Annapurna's got the big time hitters.
The next one, Plunge.
Plunge is a puzzles game. It had a mostly black and white art style. It was isometric, very reminiscent of like a Hitman Go. So your character would move across a field in a straight line. So there's a lot of like finagling your way around and trying to kill enemies. And it's basically like a dungeon dive in that sense. So you're going deeper and deeper into a dungeon. And yeah, you're basically moving across. When you pick a direction and you move towards it, you go all the way to the other end in a straight line. And you'll hit enemies. And yeah, it's pretty much that. So.
And that is on both Switch and Steam?
I believe and I think it's out already.
Yes, it is, and it's by Spooky Buns, is the developer.
Good name for a developer.
Infernax.
So I walked up to the Infernax booth on Friday, and I saw their PC, like they had a big TV, and they had it running off of like a little, one of those tiny cube PCs, but they're like, oh yeah, the build's shit. They're like, it's well, it's not running right, is what it looked like. Like they had it running on that TV, and then they also had somebody playing on a Switch because they're working with a Switch dev kit, And you could see the difference between the two. Like, I looked at the guy who was playing the Switch version and looking at the PC version, and I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely different. But when I finally got my hands on it, I talked to the developers a little bit. They're definitely inspired by games that I love that are lamented by others, which are Zelda 2 and Simon's Quest. And the developer and I were like, yes, we love these games. And he's like, yeah, you're right, they're good. And all you who think they aren't are wrong.
Jon is on Berserk Studios payroll now.
Yep.
That's Infernax.
Infernax. Really fun. It was cool. Like, it had one of the most interesting moments was you come across, like, what looks to be a person in pain, and you get two options. You get slay or pray, because your character is like a holy warrior. And if you pick pray, spoilers, the guy turns into this giant demon-looking beast, and you have to fight like a boss battle. But if you select slay, he thanks you for ending his suffering. And there's a horrifying shot of like a pixel art looking thing of your mace crashing into the side of his head, and he just collapses and dies. So he asked me at first, he's like, what do you think I should do? Should I slay or pray? I'm like, he's a good guy, you should pray. And he's like, oh, well, that was the wrong choice. So it's pretty cool. But very, very Zelda 2, very Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest.
All right, and that's Infernax.
Infernax.
All right, then you played Cosmoteer?
Cosmoteer was the first thing I played at the Indie Mega Booth. It's a little weird. It basically, you have... it reminded me a little bit of FTL with the shipbuilding aspect of it, except there's more Tetris-y stuff involved, because you're basically fitting your ship components into this frame that you have for whatever ship you pick. I messed around with adding there's certain weapons that require certain ammo bays to be able to be used, and then basically I just went around this map and killed 3 enemies. Combat seems pretty automated. Pause at any time to pause the combat. You can actually target specific systems on the ships. Seemed all right. I would probably need a little bit more time with it to make a sound judgment on it. So.
Okay, and that one's on Early Access Steam.
Early Access Steam, yep.
Doesn't have a price on it, so that is coming. Let's see. Mutazione. Mutazione. Yep. Mutazione. You even told me how to say that earlier.
Yep. So Mutazione is an adventure game. It's got a really, I want to say maybe a watercolor would be probably the best description of its art style. Or a mix between that and like painted. It seemed like it was painted rather than like pixel art type thing. It looked like another game set in a weird like post-apocalypse of some kind, because like it's a weird world where you're talking to creatures that aren't human but they're humanoid. Your character looks like a normal human. You go to meet like the quest I played was like, go meet this cat lady at her secret swimming spot. But in the course of that, I found like there's like a rooftop garden that the character has. You can tend that garden, plant a bunch of weird seeds in it. And then you can play music to try and help the plants grow. The plants all have different types of music they like. Like I saw melancholy and like upbeat for like the types of music that they'll react to. And apparently you learn more songs as you progress through the game. And it was funny. They had a post-it like a card taped to the front of it, basically telling you where you should go, like where the secret spot was you were supposed to go, because I'm guessing they must have gotten feedback at some point where people got lost. But yeah, that seemed cool. They had 2 different demo stations, and they had one of them was for press. So, and I was like, oh, well, which one should I play? Like, well, why don't you play this simpler one, one that's already a few days in. So I did that. It's interesting.
That one's going to be PS4 and Steam.
Yep.
And that's Mutazione.
Mutazione.
Okay, next one you played was Haven.
Haven was a French developer. She even called the game very French. it had the characters. It looks like a couple who is stranded on a planet, some weird planet that it seems like they escaped from whatever they were dealing with, but they were kind of locked into this planet that we were on, and it's a weird one because you walk around the ship in first person, but you're not either of the characters when you're doing that. You're just kind of navigating around it, and there's certain things you can do. Like it has a cooking aspect to it where you can cook with ingredients that you find while you're out exploring. When you're exploring, it's a third-person perspective. Your characters can walk, but the main mode of transit is they have this like weird light hover type thing, so it looks like they're floating across the ground. You find these trails of light that you use for power for the ship, but there's also Super Mario RPG elements where you find a creature and it'll run at you, or you run at it, and then when you do touch it, it goes into a turn-based combat system. And when you're in that combat, each character is controlled, or their actions are controlled with either the D-pad or the 4 face buttons on the PlayStation controller that they were using. And you have to hold them down to ready the action, and then you let them go. You're supposed to try and let them go in sync so that they're more effective with their attacks if they're doing the same attack.
Is it like on a cooldown, or is there a turn? Like
you basically it seems like active time battle,
okay.
So the enemies will keep attacking you if you don't keep working through that. So I didn't ask if there was any toggle for that, but yeah, that was a gorgeous looking game. Music was really good in that one too.
Yeah, it has a lot of pastel colors. I walked by the booth, didn't get to play, but
they only had one demo station running, so I was lucky I got in when I did.
Yeah,
but yeah,
very pleasing to the eyes though.
And like I said, very good score.
That is the game. Bakers is the developer, and that's Haven. It's going to be on PS4, Switch, and PC.
No Xbox.
No, sir. Sparklite.
Sparklite is in the long line of Zelda Link to the Past style games that have been coming out recently. This one seemed interesting because you were going through like the actual power-ups that I found in the limited time I played seemed like little challenge dungeons a la Breath of the Wild, like where you would pick up the item at the beginning of it, and then it would run you through several rooms where they kind of teach you how to use that item, and then once you got to the end, you put the item back, and it was like, oh, now you can craft this back at your workbench. So there were a couple different things. There was like an arrow, like a thing that shot bolts, and then there was a bomb that you controlled like remotely. That was like a little airship bomb. But yeah, seemed charming enough. Had, like I said, a lot of good music in the games that I've played.
Yeah, and the look is kind of that 8-bit, 16-bit pixel art overhead view, like you said.
Link to the Past
Zelda, Link
style,
to the Past,
inspired, yeah.
Yep, no, very cute game. Made by Red Blue Games. It's coming out on Switch, PlayStation 4, and PC. Again, no Xbox.
Nope.
And that's Sparklite. Then you played Deathbulge.
Deathbulge was in the PAX 10. Deathbulge is another... It's weird. There's a lot of turn-based RPG style games that are... Apparently they're in fashion again. With one little twist, it seems like. This one has a musical theme. And also like a weird undead theme, maybe, if I had to guess. Because one of the characters looked like a buff skeleton, who played the bass.
Dope.
And the main character was like a pink-haired looking girl who would kind of fit in either like OK Go or Adventure Time, who played the guitar. When you get into the turn-based combat, which like I said is just you're walking around on a world map, you see enemies, you can see who you could fight or you can try to avoid them. It goes into, like, you'll see there's 4 boxes for each side, and you'll see the bars moving, like where each character is, like how fast or slow they are based on their active time battle stuff, and it'll pause every time each one gets to the end of it. So there's like actual attacks that do just straight up damage, but there's also status effects that can affect those bars. So it's like 4 bars like you would see in music, right? So one of the characters has an attack that would cause 2 of those bars to ignite, and as long as the enemy track is in that bar, they're taking damage constantly, like it's ticking down. There's also buffs that would allow it to move faster, and it seems like the guitarist was much faster than the bassist because you could swap characters. You're only playing as one character at a time.
Got it.
In the battles, but you can swap between them at will, unless they're getting hit. That's the only time you can't swap. But you can see the difference. Like when I swapped to the guitarist, her bar would move much faster than when I switched to the bassist. But yeah, it seemed charming. It had some cool music in it as well. Like I said, that's been the theme this year. A lot of really good music, it seems like, in these games.
Yeah.
So,
no, and Deathbulge was originally part of a Kickstarter.
Yep.
2,200 backers, almost 60 grand.
Yeah.
Bring the game to life. Developed by 5 houses, and it's going to be on PC initially.
Yes.
So that's Deathbulge.
Deathbulge. Battle of the Bands, I believe, was the subtitle on that one.
And then Black Skylands was the next game you played.
Black Skylands. That was in the Tiny Build booth. That was the one I played after Hellpoint, which you played at some point. I didn't like that game at all, the Hellpoint game. That was a Dark Souls style, the Dark Souls one that seemed clunky, just didn't feel good.
Yeah, I spent a little bit of time with Hellpoint, and
it didn't click. Like I tried it, and I was like, this is not for me. But Black Skylanders was another pixely art game. It seemed like you had, just twin stick shooter style controls where you're shooting things overhead. But apparently the travel system seems like there are sky islands involved. So your character also has a jetpack. In the limited time I played, I was trying to go towards one of the objectives, and your airship can be attacked while you're traveling. And it controls like a boat, so it's not very precise like movement. And while I was fending off enemies from my ship, I fell off the ship. But the cool thing is that you have a jetpack, so when I started pressing the jetpack button, my character had apparently fallen very far. Like they showed like a tiny dot, and then as I started to ascend with the jetpack, it gave me the opportunity to try and get back on the ship. But I didn't, so I would need a little more time with that one to make a detailed impression, but overall, interesting enough.
Yeah, and that one's going to be published by Tiny Build.
Tiny Build.
Yeah, it's coming out on Xbox, PS4, PC, and Switch.
Everywhere.
Right. And
Tiny Build puts their games everywhere.
Definitely. Hungry Couch is the name of the developer.
Oh, sure.
That's awesome.
That's a good name.
Yeah, so that's Black Skylands. And then Elden is the last one we have for Friday.
Dark Souls style pixel art game. Seemed very slow, very clunky. Just didn't... Played it good, like 5-10 minutes of it, and I was like, I'm good. It had a very almost Children of Morta-esque art style, but a little de-resed, like less sharpness to the character models and stuff like that. Actually kind of reminded me of what Sword and Sorcery would be in a Dark Souls game, if you remember that title.
Yes. Yeah. Got it. And so this one's coming out to Steam, as far as I can tell. One Rat Party Limited is the name of the developer.
Yeah.
So that brings us to Saturday.
When Chris arrived.
I did. And the first game that we popped up to at the Annapurna booth was Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Yeah.
You played it Friday or Saturday?
I played it on Friday, too.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And I told Chris we had to play it first thing on Saturday morning.
How would you describe this game? I think you did a better job than I when we were talking about it.
A runner rhythm game is what I would best call this. So it is very musical. The soundtrack slaps, as is the colloquial term nowadays.
Oh, John, yes.
It's a very, you referred to it as a flat art style, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's basically a runner where you're on either a motorcycle or flying, moving forward, constant forward momentum, picking up collectibles. It looks like it's score-based for ranking, and then at certain aspects of each of the levels, it'll get to a rhythm-based section where you're hitting the button in time. It's judging you whether or not you're good, okay, perfect, yada yada. But you're dodging certain projectiles in the levels we played. But yeah, the soundtrack in that game is stupendous.
That's going to be really the make and the break, and so far it's killing it. Started with Claire de Lune as the first song, and Loved it. I think I played 3 levels.
Yeah. Well, and the way it's how it perfectly is an introduction to this character going into this like other world, because your character looks like it's your normal girl, and then you end up in some crazy world where you fly and you ride on motorcycles, and there's a gang of girls who are trying to throw fireballs at you, all with a really good soundtrack behind it.
Yes, the soundtrack is amazing. The art style, a lot of purples and pinks and
but I think that
colors.
changes based on which gang you're fighting, because we saw the trailer for this at E3 this year, right? Mm-hmm. And they had a bunch of different gangs apparently, and they're all different color palettes. So and I wonder if the music changes based on which gang.
I'm sure. So, I'm looking forward to this one. That's sometime in 2019. Developer Simogo.
They told me be on the lookout in the next recent future for a release date some point soon. So I am excited to hear that.
Yes, and it's going to be on the Switch.
Yep. Played well on the Switch.
Yes.
Even in handheld mode. Because I played both versions. They had one that was up on the big TV. That was the first one I played.
Oh. Yeah, I only played handheld.
And then I played in handheld mode when we were the second day. So.
Bring your headphones or speakers for that one. Don't use just the Nintendo's built-in speakers for that.
Man. Hook that up to a sound system.
Yes, that'd be disservice to the game. We played a little bit of Wattam while we were at the Annapurna booth.
A little bit of Wattam?
25 minutes or something like that.
Chris is like, I just want to play this.
Yeah.
I played that build last year.
Yeah, I haven't played since, I think, 2015. Yeah. And
2016?
It was the same game, but different build.
Yes.
Much more polished, few more things
there was
you could
more
do.
to do in this version than there was originally.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, the friend explosion's different now because he has a hat bomb. Anyways, it's a lot of fun. Check out Wattam. I don't mean to spend a lot of time on that
adorable.
One. PlayStation 4, and it's coming out someday because
it's not exclusive to PS4, right? Is that the PC
It was supposed to be.
Okay. No, you might be right.
I guess I haven't looked in a while as to what the platform, if it changed, but my understanding was it was going to be PlayStation 4 only. It says Microsoft Windows, so it might be PC as well. But that's from Keita Takahashi, who did famously Katamari Damacy.
Yes, who we met last year, and that was a highlight of PAX's for sure.
Yeah, full disclosure, I had him sign a copy of my original Katamari, so fanboying out.
And we love Katamari.
Yes.
That I finagled our way into line for.
Yeah, John said his name was Chris, so that I could get 2 copies signed.
No, not even that. Remember, I didn't even wait in line. I got in because the guy behind, he was like, "You just let me in front of you." I wasn't gonna put everybody on blast like that. But yeah, no, man,
we did some questionable things to get these signatures.
Everybody behind us got their stuff signed.
Yeah, this is true. Okay, we're okay. Phenomena, Wattam's good. It's coming. It says 2019, so we'll see. I don't think that's going to be the case.
Got a couple months left.
As we were walking around, we saw Windjammers 2, which is just Windjammers 1 with updated graphics.
You got a jump button, though, now. Don't forget. We don't know what it does or how it affects the game.
Right.
Because we just played Windjammers.
I'm not upset. No. It's just Windjammers. I'm
retiring on top. I'm 1-0.
Listen,
I'm the Windjammers champion.
I mean, if we never play this game again, I guess.
That's what I said. I'm retiring on top.
So it's coming out. It's coming out 2019. Developed and published by .emu. Coming out to Switch and Windows. If you like Windjammers 1, you're gonna like 2.
Yeah.
I think that's a long and
short. My
goal
tomorrow, I think, is to see if I can get to try out Streets of Rage 4 because they had that playable.
Yes, they did. The next one on our list, Deleveled. I know you played and I did not. So
you watched me play it.
Yes.
It's like a stripped down platformer, but the thing is that there's no jump, so it's a puzzle platformer, as it were.
Physics based is the word they used.
Yes,
because you're a little block.
You're basically mirrored on. There's 2 blocks.
That's true. You're 2 little blocks.
And they move in sync. So it's just basically managing like how you're going to bounce the characters. Yep. And you're hitting several switches in a level.
Yep.
When you do that, it resets you to the beginning. And you're basically just figuring out like how to spatially move these things from point A to point B and then get them back to point A again.
It's the graphics are super simple.
Yes.
A black background with white lines for the level. Your characters were blue.
Yellow, and then the
switches were green.
And then the final button that you hit is blue.
Okay.
The one thing I want to shout out that they did that more developers should do when it comes to your demos is they had a progress bar of how long the demo progress was. So you knew exactly how far along in the demo you were as you were playing it.
And this game is coming out, it says autumn of 2019, so anytime after PAX.
Yep.
Coming to every platform, Steam, Switch, PS4, and Xbox.
Yeah, the woman who was giving the spiel was on point, giving that spiel to everybody. She knew her copy front to back.
Yep. Next is Neon Noodles,
which is a programming game. Hashtag Chris doesn't like programming games.
I'm not a programmer.
But you're a robot chef having to basically automate the process of creating dishes. It had I like the way the tutorial was set up for it. Like it was very straightforward, yet conveyed like how you will play that game pretty well. So we basically just played the game, and I was starting to get to like more complex stuff, and then the guy tapped me on the shoulder. He's like, "I'm so sorry, we have a press appointment here," and I'm just like, "That's fine."
Yeah,
we got big timed out. It's all good.
It asks you, face right, grab noodles.
You are literally telling you each
face
step.
Down, take a step. Face right, put noodles into pot.
Yep.
Grab noodles out of cooked pot. Move down, place into dish.
Yep.
But
the good thing about that I thought was good though is that you had, once you got through that the first time, there's a simple button you would hit to go return to start. So you didn't have to program the steps all the way back to the beginning again. You just had to program that one cycle, and then it would loop over and over again. So.
Yeah, Neon Noodles coming to Steam.
That was in the mini booth.
That's hashtag not for Chris. That's
not
fine.
For Chris.
Then we saw Nibblity.
We walked around the Indie Mega booth, and I felt bad because the booth was empty. Like, it was just the devs in it, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, you want to try this out?" I was like, "Sure, why not?" Like, that's the great thing about PAX is that I feel kind of bad when I see a developer like with an empty booth. So I'm just like, "Sure, take the opportunity to try it out. Maybe you find your new favorite game." And this was pitched to us as an AR game.
They never use the word Pokemon.
They never use the word Pokemon.
But it is something you want to do.
Yes.
But it's Pokemon Go-esque in the sense that it's augmented reality.
Uh-huh.
You can place these little animals, niblets, into the world and interact with them. And I think the coolest part was you feed them items, and they can be based on real world items that you scan. So they had on the table a cell phone, a fork. What else? He had you scan his. Yeah, he had you scan his shoe.
Yeah, because the monster that I summoned, or the Nibblity, was called Bread Bull.
Bread Bull. It was a loaf of bread with horns and a smiley face. But
yes.
Bread Bull liked clothing.
So I scanned his shoe.
And then
you have a little vacuum gun that you use to shoot the food or to inhale the items that you want to feed the Nibblities.
And then you shoot them at the Nibblities and you feed them, and the more you feed them, the longer they stay in the world.
Yeah.
I don't know the end goal yet.
I wasn't sure about the end goal.
But super cute little animals chilling in the world with you.
Yes.
It's Pokemon Go in that. I'm sure you can find a lot of ways to spend a lot of time in this when you're at a restaurant.
Yeah,
or
he said
wherever.
they were like the different Nibblities will be in different portions of the world. Like they have preferred environments.
And they're doing a beta right now. Uh-huh. I signed up for it, so we'll see if it goes anywhere. Yeah. Yes, iOS. And that's Leaftail Labs Nibblity. And then we got to see the Playdate portable video game system.
Uh-huh.
What is your impressions of the Playdate? And for those who don't remember, that's the little black and white screen system with a directional A-B button and then a crank on the side.
Yep, it's the crank console.
Yes.
Super sharp screen, like the actual pixels and like everything looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
The game that they were showing off was unique in that it's something that they highlighted the crank with, but that unfortunately that was the only game they were demoing, and it was only a crank control game.
Yes.
So it was basically a time manipulation game where you're going backwards and forwards in time and using that to avoid obstacles. It had a limit, like they had a very specific time limit on the demo. Like it was literally telling you, counting down the whole time, how many seconds you had left to play it. I want to see another game on it that's not using just the crank before I make my impressions. But it's a cool little piece of tech. It looks nifty.
Yeah, it's charming.
Yes.
I don't know exactly how interested I am in it, but it would be interesting to see out and about in the world.
Isn't Keita Takahashi making a game for that too?
Yes, he's actually on their website.
Yes, so he's
Zach Gage, Bennett Foddy, Sean Inman, Keita Takahashi. All of them are making games for this.
It is a season-based thing.
And when you buy it, you get... They say a season. We don't know what that means. If that's one a month for 3 months or 4 months, or if one a week, maybe. I don't know if there's...
I want to say it said 20 games in the first season or something like that.
That's a lot.
But
I didn't think it was going to be that much.
But if they're micro games, like if it's like the game we played, like that's not a like multi-hour experience. That's something you'll play for 20 minutes.
Right. So to be perfectly clear, we know nothing of their business model.
Yes.
We have the vague idea. All they said was this season. But you get the system. I think it's 129, something like that. It's nifty. It's interesting. I don't know if it's something I'm going to put my money down on.
I'll probably get one just to fool around with.
Then I will play with John's Playdate game. But yes, it's very interesting, and I did find it charming. Then you played. I watched you play Cake Bash.
Cake Bash was a Mario Party game, but with what if they were, instead of Mario characters, different types of pastries. The little kid I was playing with was kind of a jerk.
He was a terrible.
He was yelling a lot. He was basically like yelling, "Oh, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me." It's like, kid, chill out.
That kid's been on Xbox Live once or twice.
His only goal was to basically prevent anyone else from doing anything. And unfortunately, I think I was the only one who was, I hate to say it, skilled or got the concept of the game as a whole.
I think his mom was playing with him as one of the players too.
So, but I was, it's basically like, okay, well, if his mom's playing with him, she's not really going to do a whole lot.
That's sexy, John. Moms can play video games. This was a mom who...
The mom
wasn't into games.
Yes,
you could kind of tell.
Sorry, I did not mean to...
No, me too. No, I did it too.
It was bad. But yeah, like, it was... So I'm the only one there trying to actually achieve the goals and, like, figuring out the concept. So, of course, he's only targeting me.
Right.
And there's 2 other people who are kind of playing the game. So it's basically me against 3 people because... At the end of the game, I was just like, you know what, let this kid go. And then I kind of tried to troll him a bunch, and I was like, no, I'm not letting you get anything, kid.
John.
I'll let somebody else win. And that's what happened. The last game I played, somebody else won because my specific goal was to make sure that kid didn't win.
But you play as a little piece of pastry, cake or donut, or...
And it's weird Mario-style mini-games.
In the case, I remember you were on a big table, and you were all trying to throw... cookie stars into a dish in the middle.
Yeah, they were bananas.
And then stuff like a pigeon came down and started pecking at you guys and taking away either the you or the star you were trying to put in the dish. So it made for a fun party game. It reminded me a lot of the battle royales you'd have in Mario Party.
Yeah, like if you have a bunch of people who are of the same skill level and mindset, like you could probably have a lot of fun with that.
Right. And that's coming from High T Frog as the developer. CoatSync is the publisher, and that's coming out on Windows. Then we stopped by and visited the crew making Chickory.
Yes, Chris is friends with... I
wouldn't say friends, but yeah, I've
you have a relationship with,
yes.
I should say, a professional / warm relationship with this developer.
Yes, Greg Lubinoff, shout-outs.
But we are all fans of his stuff, so...
Wander Song was one of my favorite games, I think 2 years ago. Last year came out.
Last year, yeah.
One of my games of the year. I had so much fun with Wander Song, and I'd been following it for 2 years before that, I think.
Oh, yeah. We saw that at that first PAX and went, this is something
exactly
special. And I will say this. It looks like this is also in the same vein. Something quite special.
Yes. it's awesome to see that it got 150% to goal on Kickstarter in one day.
That's good.
They're up over 200%
right
now.
Good on them.
But yeah, explain what you thought of Chickory.
It is adorable. Like this game is. It is you are a little dog who is apparently again, he's playing with the not a chosen one mythos. You are not the chosen one. However, you are thrust into the role of the chosen one hero. In this case, the world has been stripped of all its color, and you have found the paintbrush of the person who is technically supposed to be the chosen one, and then you can kind of color the world in any way you see fit. And it's a good demo because it showcases just enough of the gameplay to give you an idea of where it's going, but it doesn't. You know that there's more to it than that, and you can see some of where it's going to go. Like they introduce a puzzle where it's like, or they introduce the aspect of painting something at somebody's request. They don't like it.
Yeah.
They also introduce the concept of using the different colors of paint to do different things with the environment, to solve puzzles, and then it gives you just enough of that taste to get you like primed on what you will be doing throughout that game. And then it's like, okay, thanks for playing. Like It's perfect. It's a good sized demo to give you what it's going to be.
Right, and I watched other people play. One of the cool parts, and they want you to play with the colors and the paintbrush, because after the demo ended, he said, "Oh, just here's a little debug thing," and he let them go back in the world and just paint. They just wanted to paint the stuff because there is the platforming aspect where you paint certain things. And they grow or shrink, and that's how you solve your environmental puzzles. And
you can undo it all too, which is cool.
But yeah, it's really just a creative, colorful, game that I think
several
can be a lot
little
of
kids
fun.
were playing it, so that's how you know it's that kind of game. But it's also for adults because we all want to have warmth in our hearts.
Yep, that's true, and I backed it on Kickstarter, so I'm one of those people. But that's definitely going to make it so that I always speak highly of the game. Full transparency.
But we like that guy. So.
I do. I get along with it.
I didn't back Wandersong, but I like that game. It's so gorgeous.
Good. So good. Go play Wandersong, back kick Chickory. It's good.
Yep.
Then we walked around, played Wave Break, which is Tony Hawk.
Yeah.
But
what did you write it down in your notes as at first?
Shark Skate Boat.
I
think that is what I wrote.
You're not a shark in it, are you? Is your guy a shark? Is he a little shark in the boat?
Or you're a bear.
A bear. I thought it was a bear in a boat.
Why did I put shark?
I don't know, because you wanted to be a shark.
You're a bear inside of a speedboat.
And the speedboat acts like a skateboard.
A skateboard. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of ropes and docks and stuff that you can grind on, and then you can do a kick flip in your boat or a
spin
grab.
Tricks, grab tricks.
It's so good. And you can do a manual on the front end of your boat.
You can get off the boat just like you could in Tony Hawk.
I got scared. I was like, where did my boat go?
I hit the button and I was like, oh, this is the get off the board button. And your bear can swim at least, so you don't drown.
You don't drown, but you're not doing anything at that point.
You got to swim back to your boat.
And there was a time limit to get a certain score or whatever. It's exactly what it sounds like in our description. Very colorful, bright and cheery graphics.
I need more time with it.
Yes.
But it was very limited because I only got to play like one run, and that was like 2 minutes.
Right. Yeah, we won't speak to the longevity of that game just because we can't, but it looks interesting at the very least.
Yeah. The dev you were playing with was pulling off some sick tricks.
Dude, he got like 9 times the score that I did.
Oh, he was schooling everybody in that game.
Yeah, and that's, that is what it is.
Yep.
Coming out from Funkatronic Labs on Windows. Let's see. Next, Blasphemous.
Chris, you were apprehensive to sit down and play this at first.
Well, I meant to kickstart the game a few months back, so it was on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
I was familiar with it. I didn't want to sit down and play with it because I
downloaded the demo.
Yes, that's what I was going to. I have the demo at home, so I was going to just wait.
When does that lock again? Is it
I think it was today, so I didn't even get to play the demo that I downloaded. That's fine now because I played it at PAX. Everybody went straight to the Dark Souls comparison.
Which is apt because there are several things in this that are like directly pulled from it. You have your bonfires, quote unquote, where you have checkpoints.
Mm-hmm.
You have Estus flasks. The combat has a parry in it. It has a dodge in it.
Yes.
It's in 2D. And you can die very quickly.
And the only reason I push back against it, because it doesn't have what I consider the real Dark Souls gameplay of slow, deliberate, and I don't mean slow as in bad. But
methodical.
Yes, methodical. That's intentional,
Yes.
however you want to say it. Where you're dodging, you're rolling, and then you're slashing. This one's much more action-oriented. It plays faster than even Symphony of the Night, things like that. So it uses a lot of the now tropes that Dark Souls carries in the world, but
and to also be fair, this is a demo.
Mm-hmm.
It could be that this is just like this is like the first area,
True,
kind of onboarding you, because I don't think they're introducing a parry move and a dodge move like that if they aren't going to be integral to the combat. But in the beginning, you're mashing buttons against most enemies in that game. So,
and this game is disgusting. Just so we're perfectly clear.
Yeah, the creature design in this is grody.
Oh yeah, body augmentation, horror, disgustingness.
Mutilation.
Yeah. Oh, and everybody explodes with blood and gore when they die. And
going back to Infernax, I will say very good gore because your character gets covered in gore as he kills the monsters in that game.
Oh man.
So,
but yeah, Blasphemous. It's. I don't have a release date. It is
that character
coming
model is pretty dope looking.
to Windows. Is the only platform they have right now. Being developed by Team 17 Digital Limited. Or, I'm sorry, no, the Game Kitchen, published by Team 17.
Team 17. Good booth.
They had a lot.
They had 3 games that I really liked. So
I think we're going to go through them right now.
All right.
Beyond Abyss? Was that? No, I'm sorry. Monster Sanctuary.
Monster Sanctuary.
That is the one I was
Which
thinking
I bought after playing it on the floor. Think of it as Metroidvania meets Pokemon. And it's that. Turn-based combat, you upgrade the creatures, you explore the world in a Metroidvania style. We already talked about it in the last podcast. No need to expand on it anymore. Go get it.
Yeah, John bought it. It's still in early access, but that is what he got.
Yep.
Then the last one for Saturday I have is Deceive Inc.
Yeah, that was the one I jumped onto randomly. That is a multiplayer game, competitive. So they had 8 people playing, I believe, and the mission they had you going on was basically get enough intel to break into a vault and steal an item.
So it's a spy game.
Yes.
I watched John play. In your scenario, actually, it's 4-on-4 or 4 players. The other 4 playing their own group.
Okay, good.
But there's 4
Spies.
player-controlled spies
Yes.
that are trying to collect intel, as John was saying, in a first-person shooter fashion.
And not get discovered.
You get to pick the kind of spy you want to be.
Yes.
I think there was 5 or 6.
There's a few. They only had 3 to select, I think.
Okay.
Maybe 4.
Maybe some of them were locked, and that's what I was seeing. But you had options as to what kind of play style. Like they had a sniper
And they had
style.
a bunch of different gadgets that you could pick from, too.
Yep. You could customize how your player looked and everything.
Yeah.
But yes, you're trying to blend in with all the other people in this group.
You can disguise yourself as any of the NPC characters who are walking around. So you'd walk up to somebody and hit a button to disguise yourself. Which also allowed you had to do that to get into certain areas. So because there were certain areas that were staff only.
Right.
So the green lady, the great lady who was in green outfit, I had to get her outfit so I could get into an area that was green only. And then the area that I was in later on in the game, I had to get that blue outfit to get into the area with like the server room and stuff. But the thing is that the NPCs in that game move erratically as well.
Yeah.
So there were a couple instances where I'm like, that looks like a person moving around because they don't look like they're moving naturally. And I shot them, and then there is AI trying to hunt you as well. So if you alert people, they'll start chasing you and trying to kill you. Luckily enough, one of my other spy gadgets was the ability to scan an innate piece of furniture and then take the form of that piece of furniture. So when it happened, I would run around a corner and turn myself into a vase.
Yeah, I saw you turn into a tree at one time, I think.
It was
but the game breaks down in 3 phases where the collecting the intel in this scenario, it was the first. Then there was a vault. The vault opens in the second phase.
And you have to get into the vault. You have to have enough intel to get into the final spot where you can steal the item.
Right.
Unfortunately, I ran out of time because I didn't have enough intel to get into the last like the vault area.
Right, and so I was listening to the devs while you're playing. The third phase is you collect whatever item it is that everybody's looking for, and you have to escape with it. And the other 3 people then at that point are trying to shoot you, kill you, take it for themselves.
Yep. No, I knew that was going to be the case when I think they were like cheering me on almost when I heard them, like when I threw out the inflatable thing near the end, like I was trying to get up there and like I was trying to line it up. And I heard somebody going, oh. And I was like, because I missed it the first jump. And then, it was just, it seems like a neat concept, so. Yeah,
I think it was hard to play well on the floor because you have to be relatively versed in the mechanics to make it look more interesting than they did.
I didn't realize that I needed all that extra intel.
Right.
Once I got into the vault.
And that's what I mean. Yeah. Not knowing how the game operates, you wouldn't know what your objective actually is.
Yeah, because I was opening up a bunch of stuff with intel as I was walking around the outer area that I didn't really need to get.
Right.
So.
And that's hard because then everybody's kind of lost and nobody knows exactly what the goal is.
I did get to kill a spy, though. I did kill one of them because they started shooting at somebody. I came up behind them and shot him in the back of the head.
So that was our Saturday.
Yes.
Sunday, the first thing we did was go upstairs, back to the indie booth, and take a look at Spiritfarer.
Gorgeous.
Yes. Thunder Lotus Games, who did Sundered and Jotun. Hand-drawn graphics, and this one falls in that mold as well.
Oh, it's so adorable.
John, how would you describe this game?
This game they use the term Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon. So I was instantly like, yes, please. Your character is a Spiritfarer. So
just to be clear, not in presentation. It's a 2D side scroller.
2D side scroller.
But it's there's a management aspect.
Yes, you are basically tasked with guiding spirits to the afterlife. You create places for them to live on your boat. It seems like, and that's like a Tetris style thing where you build the places they're going to stay on your boat, and then when you're navigating between islands, it seems like there is just time to do stuff on the boat. Like the thing they were showing off was the fishing and the cooking.
Fishing and gardening.
Oh, the gardening and the
cooking. Yes.
So,
and you're trying to keep all of your spirits that you're housing satisfied and happy.
Yeah, there was a deer.
Yep.
There was a big frog-looking thing.
And
a snake.
Once you achieve certain objectives, some spirit, and there's always spirit-specific objectives. Once you find the item they're looking for, or have whatever event is going to happen for them, they will then tell you they're ready to pass on.
Yeah. And then they give you a location to go to.
And it's very... It's beautiful and it's
touching.
Frog
was playing the flute during a storm, and you were walking around the ship with the storm, capturing the lightning bolts that were hitting you.
Yep. You could hug everyone.
Hug
I was so happy.
And when you hug them, it's like a warm feeling in your soul.
The deer asked me if I felt better, and I said yes, but to nobody because that's not actually an option in the game. Coming out on Switch, PS4, and PC, and that's 2020.
I can't wait.
Next, we checked out Spring Falls.
Mobile game.
Yes.
Puzzle game. Very zen-like. That's about all I can say about it. It's a game you can relax to.
That's actually what the dev was telling me. She said, I was having a bad day once, and I just turned on one of the builds, and I was... they were telling us about the way they made it. It's been in development for about a year and a half. He recorded the water sounds actually from a babbling brook.
Nice.
Like, that's how he got those noises.
Perfect.
It's hexagonal. You touch the hexagon. Yes, isometric.
You drag with your finger...
And as you release or
lower
depress is the word I was looking for. As you depress hexagons, water springs forth, and you can.
You're basically trying to get green grass to go all the way to a flower. Touch every square next to a seedling that grows into a flower.
Yes.
And then you move on to the next level.
Yes. So it's very simple, basic. I liked it. It's coming on iOS, maybe I don't know about Android, and then Steam.
Yep. But it is definitely a good mobile game.
Yep, by Sparse. Minute of
right,
Islands.
Chris, we gotta knock this out.
All right, Minute of Islands is a hand-drawn kind of adventure game. They said that the final build's going to have 7 big islands. The big draw for me was the hand-drawn graphics. They're gorgeous.
Looks gorgeous.
Yes. A team of 20 has been working on it for about a year and a half. It's coming out sometime next year by Studio Fizbin. I can't describe how the look is. It's art direction was done by somebody in or based in the comic books industry, so it has a beautiful look to it, all hand-drawn, and everything looks great.
The term you used, which was really good, was it looks like a place where the people don't even know that they've emerged from an apocalypse. Like, that's what it looks like, the aesthetic of that world.
Yeah, it definitely is post something bad happened. And
calamity.
And it's been a long time. It's just the accepted way of life, and it's very cool. I'm looking forward to that one.
Nifty.
Let's see. Let's jump to Bravery Network Online. John played a little bit of that one.
It's like Pokemon, Chris.
It was fun to watch because it has the way it's laid out is like a fighting game, but you get teams of 3 on your side.
It's Pokemon. You got 3 Pokemon, or in this case, 3 fighters who all have different abilities. The one I picked a dude who was a fighter. He looked like a boxer, almost Don Flamenco-esque, but he needed my help to put on a performance. So the enemies I was fighting at one point was the crowd, and they are only vulnerable to emotional attacks.
It's beautiful to watch. It's a hand-drawn look to it again, which is something we're obviously drawn to. Done by Glom Collective.
Glom. Glom.
Glom, right? Yes. Sorry. Glom Collective. And it's going to be on PC. Let's see. The Next World, or The World Next Door, excuse me. The World Next Door. You were enamored enough that you bought it.
Yeah. They had a deal of $15 for 2 copies, one on Steam, one on Switch. It is a match 3 game for the combat. Your character apparently is a human who has crossed over into a world of magical creatures. And yeah, it's got some weird, like, teenage angsty stuff going on. Like, or you're a teen hanging out with the cool monster teens, it seems like. But the combat is like match 3 on a grid and dodge and avoid attacks. And when you match 3, you can cast a spell with those match 3, the runes. And all the rooms seem pretty straightforward. Like, you can make them out just based on color and shape, what they do. The healing stuff is a heart. And you can move the rooms around. So if you're trying to match 3, pick one up from one spot and move it over to the other. So
yeah, that one looks nice.
Yes.
I look forward to kind of taking a shot at it myself.
Yeah.
You played Klaxo Radio Hour, which is a mobile-only game.
You can download it now, apparently. It is what I best describe as a radio play meets a choose-your-own-adventure. It is a radio play like the old-timey 40s radio plays. So you are presented with, a scene, and then it's like, well, would you like to do this, or would the character do this? If you do this, go to this channel on the radio, and if you do this, go to this channel on the radio. But apparently it gets spooky at some point. I didn't get to the spooky
right, it
part.
didn't turn. That was
no.
It sounds interesting in terms of dynamic and something that might be fun to do on a mobile device, since that's where it's based. Let's go Later Daters. We both played that.
Yeah. Dating sim for old people.
That is exactly what it is. Dating sim
with old people.
In an old folk home.
Think about Dream Daddy, except instead of a daddy who is, meets other daddies.
A dream.
You are an old person. You can choose whether you had a traditional relationship or a lesbian
so
or gay relationship.
It was good.
Or you could even pick no soulmate.
Yep, inclusivity to the max.
So
never settled down.
Yeah, it's cool. It was nifty. Like, you could see the writing was charming. They were not playing anything for like goofs.
Yeah, no, it was legit.
It was very sincere.
It was. It felt nice. The story was. Everybody had a pretty good or a well-developed character.
Yeah,
I was enjoying. Spending my time in there. I played on Switch. You played on PC, so it's going to be on both. I don't know what the release date was,
but it's a charming game. Later Daters.
So, any other games you want to shout out that you can think of, John? Because that's the end of my list.
No, that's it, pretty much.
All right. I saw Sakuna. It gives me mad Muramasa vibes. If you're Vanillaware Muramasa fan, that's a game you definitely want to take a look at. Otherwise, that's going to be a wrap on our PAX coverage 2019 for Unique
I'm
Drops.
going to do another pass tomorrow. Maybe see something else.
Yeah, and we'll catch up with you on Friday about whatever it is that you might have found.
Yeah, my Labor Day holiday.
Thank you for listening. This is Unique Drops. Later, Gators.